Have you ever saved all year for that one family vacation and ended up stressed out about every single dollar?
Not anymore. Hi, I'm Mary Ellen.
And I'm Jo. We're two busy moms who have cracked the code on travel with points and miles.
We're here to show you how we turn everyday expenses into extraordinary vacations.
This is Wonderland on Points, where we share tips and tricks to help you earn free and deeply discounted travel.
Let the adventure begin. Welcome back to Wonderland on Points, presented by Yahoo Travel. We are your hosts, Mary Ellen and Jo, and today we have a fellow travel podcaster on the show. You can find our friend Courtney on the Points Everywhere podcast and on Instagram at Points Everywhere. Courtney, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I am super excited about this episode we're going to do today, guys. We're going to get into a little bit of Greece, a really cool Mr. and Mrs. Smith property. And Courtney and I were chatting about this, and I was like, you have to come on. You have to come on and tell us about it. And we will dig into it. She got the craziest steal of a deal that none of us will be able to replicate, but it's still an incredible property. And even at its full points price, you guys are going to want to hear about it. Before we dive into that, though, please tell everybody a little bit about you, your background, and how you got started in this points and miles world.
Sure, absolutely. So I am a mom of two and a primary care physician. I take care of adults and children, and I love to travel, obviously. I'd like to start with talking about how I fell in love with travel. So the summer after college in 2009, I biked across the country with my best friend. And so we went on this trip. Yeah, it was from Virginia Beach to Cannon Beach, Oregon. And we did it through an affordable housing agency and a nonprofit called Bike and Build. And we raised money and awareness for the importance of affordable housing. And we worked on building projects as we went through the trip. And, you know, we only biked a little bit every day, right? It took 10 and a half weeks to get across the country. And so we got to stop in all of these different little places, meet people from all over the country, find out the little hidden gems and all these tiny towns we went through. And that's when I fell in love with travel. It was incredible. It was the ultimate slow travel, right?
Yeah,
it was so
that
slow.
Is incredible. Like, there are no words. That is awesome. Are you best friends with our good friend Kelly at Points and Miles Doc? Because I feel like you two would have so much to chat about.
I love that you say that. I follow her. I love her content. I have not really spoken to her personally, but I do think she's great.
She's got to come on your podcast. She's a great guest. I know she'll come on.
That would be fun. That's a good idea. Okay.
And you should go to one of those Points and Miles doctor conferences that she does with Devin. I bet that would be an awesome community. But yeah, you guys have some similarities. I can see Kelly doing that too. Biking across the US. That's so impressive. And also the kind of thing that would go super viral on Instagram. If back then it wasn't really the Instagram.
I know. It was not really a thing back then. But yes, I do have a lot of pictures. And yeah, eventually I'll post some content about that experience, because that really is when I fell in love with travel. That's when this all started. And then I went to medical school and residency. And so I had absolutely no money and absolutely no time to travel. And so I did a lot of, super budget travel the best I could for many years. And then I had kids. And so that kind of slowed me down. So it's really only been the past 3 years or so that I've been traveling the way that I want to. And that's frequently and often in style. And I started doing some international trips with my kids. We went to Ireland and Iceland, and we did that within a few months. And that's where I thought, okay, I got to figure out a different way to do this, because I cannot afford the way I'm wanting to travel, the frequency and, the once in a lifetime type trips every few months or so is really what I was looking for. And I can't afford that. Who can, right? So that's kind of how I got into Points and Miles. I deep dived like everybody does, all the blogs, all the podcasts. I found you guys. Definitely a fan of you first before starting my own podcast. So this is kind of surreal.
Oh, this is so nice. I love this. I love inspiring people. And also, the podcast world is so small. And I'm like, people, why? Podcasts are like such a hidden gem, in my opinion, for sharing information. I don't know. There's so many people that I feel like should have podcasts that don't. And I'm like, why? but it is actually a lot of work. So I
That
understand that
is
one.
true. That is
Nobody
true.
realizes how much work it is. Ah, okay. Well, thank you so much for saying that. That makes us very, very excited that she found us and learned from us. Let's talk about when you decided to take it to the internet. Where was it kind of the same with the rest of us, where your friends and family were tired of it, and you were like, "I want to share it with other people that care."
It was a little bit of that. So, I'm all excited about these things. I got this mistake rate that I'll talk about. And I was explaining it to everybody like, oh, I'm going on this trip and I paid like almost no points for it. And just like nobody really got it. They're like, okay, cool. You got a good deal. Like, well, but like you guys understand this is wild when I explain this mistake rate. And just, I don't know. I needed I needed my people that understand what this is and all about. And it's all about. And I wanted to teach people about this. I have a teaching background. I taught in college as a teaching assistant in chemistry. And then I taught in residency and I teach medical residents now as a part of my career. And I just wanted to teach other people how to do this because it's crazy that not more people are taking advantage of this.
It really is.
Infuriating, actually.
Yeah.
Infuriating. Well, you just want people to have the opportunity. And honestly, you feel bad sharing about your travels sometimes because you know that they misunderstand and think that you're spending just ridiculous amounts of money on travel. And you're like, no, you could actually probably do this too. It's points and miles. But today, I'm so excited for you to share about Santorini. And normally we start with flights. When someone's giving us a trip report, a lot of times we'll start with the flights. And you had some pretty cool flights. We're going to go back to those. But first, tell us about the mistake fare that we keep alluding to, because even though we can't find it ourselves, because it was like a one-time fluke thing, it's still mistake fares happen. Joanna just had a mistake fare that got her business class to Ireland and back. I mean, these opportunities do exist. So tell us what the mistake rate was for your hotel booking and how you found it.
Okay, so I booked 8 nights in Santorini at this extreme luxury resort for 14,250 points total for the whole stay.
Total.
Which is obviously insane. And I didn't actually wind up being able to go for the full 8 nights because life and kids and my daughter was in a play. So I paid, that was the price for 8 nights. I wound up doing 4 nights there. But I mean, still obviously an insane deal for 4 nights. And I found this by being in the points and miles world. So knowing people and being in groups, it was a Facebook group that I'm part of that someone in the group happened to be looking at, on the Hyatt app and looking at Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels. And they realized that all the Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels on Hyatt were pricing at like around 1,000 points per night, and kind of in that ballpark. And it was all of them, all of the Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels. And so I just happened to be home and happened to be on Facebook and see this post, like, there's mistake rates on Mr. and Mrs. Smith, run, don't walk, book these now. And so I did. I booked the first 2 things that came to mind, and that was Santorini and Porto, Portugal. So I actually booked 2 trips like this on this mistake rate. And it was super glitchy. Lots of people were trying to do it at the same time. So it was a lot of like refreshing and crossing my fingers and hoping things went through. But I did actually book 2 trips. And this happened it was about a year before I took the trip. So it was spring 2025. And I booked about a year out, and I wound up landing at the end of April because that's when my birthday is. So I was like, okay, Santorini, my birthday. This is sounding good. I obviously had no time to research this particular hotel, anything about it. I just booked. I just booked as fast as I could, 2 things that I could find.
I'm honestly so baffled that we never heard about this, Mary Ellen. I don't know if you did, but we definitely never talked about it on the podcast. We're in all the Facebook groups. You would think that this major news of people getting 1,000 point per night fancy hotels would have come across our radar at some point, but I have zero memory of this happening.
I didn't really hear it talked about anywhere else. And I think not a lot of people were able to take advantage of it because it was really brief. It was like less than an hour that these rates
Yeah.
were up.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah.
You have to jump on these things, guys. It's just like when the
Yes.
paid stuff started,
Mhm.
that was in 24 hours, part of that deal had been shut down. Like all of the really good stuff, you have to jump on it. If you see it in a group, if you see us post about it, wherever it is, and especially something like this, it's a hotel booking. If it doesn't work out, you can just cancel it. So if
Mhm.
you see it, jump on it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. I booked
Absolutely.
that Ireland thing in about 2 minutes. And then I was like, hope I can
Mm-hmm.
take days off in 1 month.
Yes.
It
Yes, I
all
love
worked
that.
out. It was
Were you
amazing.
so terrified though that you would show up there and they would not honor the rate? You would get to Santorini and they'd be like, "Oh no, no, no. This was a mistake. Not happening."
Yeah. Yeah, I was totally terrified of that. And I honestly, so I booked these 2 trips. I kind of had in my head that it wasn't going to happen. Like I was just sort of expecting it to be canceled by Hyatt, that they would just cancel it and refund my points. I was pretty much banking on that. And I didn't even let myself really believe I was going until a few months went by and the bookings were still there. And then I, of course, followed in this Facebook group, and a lot of people had booked things that were a lot sooner, than almost a year out. And so people started posting like follow up. I was able to go on this trip. Hyatt honored this rate at the Mr. and Mrs. Smith hotels. So I started getting some data points and seeing that these bookings seemed to be honored. And so as it got closer, then I actually let myself believe that this trip was happening. And yeah, but I was still ultimately when I booked the flights and when I planned this, I had in my head, like, this could all fall through. And what will I do if it does? So if I show up and they're like, so sorry, you owe us cash or you owe us 1,000,000 points or whatever, I was prepared for that to happen.
Yeah.
So I had booked these flights. I had gotten a great deal on those. And so I thought, worst case scenario, we show up and they're like, we don't actually have your room or you owe us all this money. I was ready to just be with my husband, look for something on cash and or points, just look for something else cheaper, a cheap Airbnb, cheap hotel, and just be there and do it that way. So I was ready to be totally flexible if it all fell through, which I think is important when you snag stuff like this.
So important. Flexibility is key. And also in all of Europe in general, everything overseas in general, there are so many places that you can stay on cash that you cannot find on the internet. They'll just have a sign out front and they'll be like, there's some vacancy here in our cute little Mediterranean house. I mean, that kind of would have been its own very, very cool story. So
Yeah.
I love that you were ready for whatever came. I really want to hear about the hotel, but I think since we're talking flights and stuff already, I think we go backwards to the flights and then we go through the hotel because there's a lot that this hotel has to offer.
Sure.
But your flights were also incredible.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
tell us all about what you flew, how you found the availability, where your points came from, all the things.
Yes. So when I booked this, I already had in my head that I wanted to fly business class on Emirates because I knew there's a Newark to Athens Fifth Freedom flight. And so when I was doing that initial, oh my gosh, where will I book these almost free hotels? I had in my head, okay, if I did Santorini, I could take that Emirates flight. So I sort of already had that idea just from awareness of what flights are out there and what things are available just from consuming a lot of stuff on social media and in podcasts and hearing about that flight. So I had that specific flight in mind already. Once I had secured the hotels, I started looking for availability and I booked it relatively quickly because the cancellation policy was okay. I don't remember the exact, but there was like some kind of cash amount, I think like 75 euros for canceling or something like that. And I thought, okay, I'd like to snag this and I'm okay if I have to cancel this if things fell through with the hotel. So finding the availability wasn't terrible because I was looking almost a year out, which is obviously ideal. I transferred points from Amex when it was still 1-to-1 because this was almost a year ago. So I was able to transfer from Amex to Emirates at 1-to-1, which is now the ratio is a little bit lower, but I did it that way. I paid 87,000 points per ticket. I paid $433 in cash each in taxes and fees. That is the new higher taxes and fees rate. I actually wound up, there was a lot of moving around with the dates of the trip and things like that. I actually changed the dates of the trip a few different times because of family needs and things like that. So I wound up I paid less in taxes and fees initially, and then they changed their taxes and fees and they went up a bit higher. So that's the higher rate that I paid, the new taxes and fees rate with the new flights.
Real quick, everybody, we want to remind you that Yahoo Travel is our presenting sponsor. The Why Wonder newsletter, which is written by Joanna and I twice a week. We've been having so much fun with it. We hope that you are enjoying it. We are building it for budget-friendly travelers who care about traveling further for less out of pocket using points and miles. You know that is our whole thing. We want everyday folks to be able to travel more.
Yeah, and we have a spot for everyone on this newsletter. We're going to be pumping out some beginner-friendly stuff, some more high-level stuff, and everything in between. So no matter where you are on your points journey, this is the newsletter for you. We want it to have the same fun vibe as the podcast. It is written in our original voices. It will also include some of the latest developments from Yahoo Travel, and those are things that Wonderland on Points listeners can really benefit from.
So sign up today at travel.yahoo.com, and you can also find the link in our show notes.
Back to the episode.
So $433 and 87,000 points.
Yeah, and these cash tickets are high.
I priced out for this specific flight $3,400.
Tell us a little bit about the business class experience.
It was amazing. I had never flown business class before in my life. And so this was quite a way to start business class.
You're ruined.
Because, yeah, I mean, it was so fancy. It was the fanciest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I've done some fancy travel and stuff like that, but it was so fancy. And it was just hilarious to me getting on the flight because I was so excited and I was not playing it cool at all. Like, I'm getting on this flight.
I love it. Don't play it cool.
I've got my phone out. I am touching everything. I'm saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. Look at this little bag of cosmetics. Look at this. Look at that. I was freaking out. I was so excited. And then everybody around me is just kind of like acting like they're getting on a normal plane. And I was like, who are these people and how are they not as excited as I am?
It's hard to be excited when you paid $3,400 for something. Nothing will live up to your standards at that point.
So true. So true. So, I mean, it was incredible. The seat was like just this super plush, wide thing. It laid out into just an extremely comfortable bed. They put this really nice mattress pad over it. We had our own little mini bars next to us with like 4 different refrigerated drinks like sparkling water, flat water, sodas, and then 4 or 5 different kinds of snacks that they would refill. So that was all just sort of sitting there. They had a full drink menu, like a full cocktail, full wine list, super fancy cocktails, nice champagne. We got to pick a few cocktails. They also had a full hors d'oeuvre and dinner menu. So you could order one of like, I think 8 appetizers and you could order as many as you wanted. Like there were a lot of choices. It wasn't just like, oh, do you want chicken or fish? You know, it was like lots of choices. I got this cheese platter with all these really amazing cheeses. I got these meatballs that were incredible. The flight was at midnight, so we were not really hungry, but I just ate because I wanted to try everything. Yeah.
It's true.
And then they had, lots of dessert choices. And in the morning we had, again, like a full breakfast menu, lots of things to pick from. The stuff they gave us was wild. Okay, so they gave us nice over-ear soft headphones, kind of like what I'm wearing, that you could use with the entertainment center, and you could keep them.
What?
Yes. But the plug was like not a US plug. So I didn't actually keep them, but they were really nice. They gave us pajamas to keep. A set of pajamas that I now wear. They were super soft. This like jersey knit material, amazing. Slippers. They also gave us this cosmetics case that was full of stuff. It had probably 20 items in it. Like hand cream and really nice perfume and a toothbrush and toothpaste and hair ties. And I mean, just so many different items. And it was like all really nice designer type stuff.
Incredible.
So cool. Yeah.
Joanna, I know recently you said you can't plan any more trips, but I think the 2 of us need to go find an Emirates flight.
I
I
think you do. I think
I've
you
had my
do.
eyeball on this Fifth Freedom route for so long, and it's getting more expensive as time goes on. So I really, the sooner the better.
Do it.
Yeah, maybe Mary Ellen. I mean, I did tell my husband I'd take him to Greece sometime, but that could be in the future.
Before we go back to the hotel and really you tell us all about it, let's briefly mention the way home because you flew economy on the way home, but you got a steal of a deal on your flights home too.
I did. So we flew Emirates on the way home, and the hope and the dream was that I would have enough points to upgrade us to business class when we got there, because you can do that at the counter. And I'd heard many stories of people doing this. So that was what I had in mind. But ultimately, that did not work out. What I booked initially was it was 17,500 points each plus $172 in taxes and fees.
It's amazing.
A steal to get across the
Amazing.
ocean.
Yeah, to
No
come back
one's
from
talking
Europe,
about this.
taxes and fees
Yeah.
under 200 is always good.
Yes, and I do not hear enough people talking about this. This is just what it costs. Like I didn't find a special rate or anything like that. That's just what it is to get across the ocean on Emirates, which is amazing. And I hear no one mentioning that when they're talking about going to Europe. But yeah, this would be a great way to get just across the ocean to Athens, and you could pop off to anywhere in Europe from there. And the economy experience was good. It was solid. It was a typical across the ocean economy flight. It was comfortable. It was fine. It was not anything like the business class, but it was such a deal. And I had in mind that I was going to try to upgrade us to business class. I had heard from multiple different sources that it costs between 39 and 50,000 points to upgrade from economy to business. And just you do that at check-in, basically. And so I was ready. I had saved up a bunch of Bilt points at this point from the Bilt Palladium card. And by this point, Amex was no longer one-to-one, but Bilt is one-to-one. Yep. And so I had a bunch of Bilt points and I was ready. And when we went to check-in, there was availability. There were 2 seats in business class, and they said it was going to be 80,000 points each, which that was sad. I mean, honestly, so that number of points, so that it would be 97,000 points total that I would have paid for those flights between what I had already paid for economy and the upgrade. I mean, I think it's almost a 10-hour business class flight, to pay that amount of points would be reasonable.
Yeah.
But I am a frugal girl at heart, guys. I like a deal.
Yep.
I just couldn't stomach it. I didn't want to spend that many points. That would have basically been all of my Bilt points. And I thought about what I really value about travel and the travel experience. And I decided that I would value more being able to take a whole separate trip with my family for spring break coming up next year. And so I wound up booking Grand Hyatt Baha Mar with the points I would have spent.
There you go.
Upgrading us to business class. So that's one of the things with points and miles that's so beautiful, is you can decide what things you care about most,
That's
when
right.
you want to get an elevated experience, when you really want to save, and you can prioritize. And that's what I did.
So if you had to do it all over again and you were picking which way to go economy and which way to go business class, you put it on the front or you put it on the back?
Good question. I would put it on the front like I did, although it is hard to decide. I think getting sleep on the way there was just so nice. We could have not done that because we were super flexible. This was a very relaxed trip. It was just myself and my husband. So if we had shown up tired, it wouldn't have been the end of the world, like it is with kids. But honestly, we've done it the other way. Like I've never flown business class with my family, and we've taken several international trips. So I've certainly done a red eye in economy, hit the ground running the next day. We've done that. But for this trip, I just felt like arriving relaxed and refreshed and already in vacation mode. Like it felt like the trip started the minute we got on the plane, which was just so cool. And I actually had this feeling when we got off the plane in Athens, like, if this trip ended right now and I had to just hop on a plane and go home, I would be happy. I would be totally pleased with this trip. I really felt like that because it was so fun to experience that. And with my husband, we did not grow up fancy people. We were like road trips and camping and that kind of thing. And so it was just wild to be in that elevated of a space and just that level of luxury was something we had never experienced before. And so it was really cool to kind of kick the trip off with that. With that said, it did, it kind of sucked on the way home to be sitting in economy. I'm not going to lie. We called it the nosebleeds.
Yep.
But it was fine. The argument in the other direction is that it's longer on the way home. So the flight home was like an hour or maybe even an hour and a half longer. And so, you could make that argument that you want the longer, more time in business on the way home.
More wait
could
time
also,
is always my argument. Because you want to be awake and enjoy it. You want to eat the meals. You want to, you're so excited in business class that you end up not sleeping that much anyway.
That's exactly how the Ireland trip just was. The way back, I loved so much more.
Yeah. And I might do it differently I think it depends on the trip, like what your goals are for the trip, who you're traveling with, just all of those things. But I did really want to be awake the whole time. Yeah. I won't lie. So there's definitely pros to both. But I think if I had to pick, I would pick business class there.
All right.
Okay. Let's pick up in Athens from when you landed. Did you go straight to Santorini? Did you stay in Athens a bit first? And do you have any booking tips for people who are planning this trip and are flying into Athens or like, okay, then we have to get to Santorini? How did you book that?
Yes. So we flew Aegean Air from Athens to Santorini, and that's exactly what I would recommend doing. I looked into options. It's basically Ryanair and Aegean Air that fly from Athens to Santorini. There's lots of flights through the day on both. And there's also a ferry, which I don't recommend. I have a friend that's done the ferry. And the ferry takes a long time. And it's not that much cheaper. We got our flights on Aegean Air for the way there was just over, I think it was $102, including checked bags. And then on the way back, it was, I think, $180 each, including check bags. That one was more just based on the times, the time of day. If you've got any restrictions, the price varies. But I believe the ferry is between $50 and $100. So it's not that much cheaper. And when you take the ferry, you have to get from the airport to the ferry launch, right? So you're doing an Uber or something like that you have to pay for. And then you're waiting there for the ferry because there's only a few a day and it's boring. There's nothing there. Versus we got our bags. We had a couple of hours in between because we didn't want to miss our repositioning flight to Santorini. But we were in a lounge. There's a nice priority pass lounge there. Honestly, the best one we experienced on the trip was in Athens, much better than in Newark. And we just kind of hung out and relaxed and had a good time. So I would definitely recommend flying over the ferry.
Yeah, that's a good tip. All right, so you get to Santorini, and now introduce us to this property because I don't think we've even said the name of it yet. So tell us what it was called and how you got there from the airport, and what is the Greek equivalent of Uber? I'm assuming they don't have Uber and Lyft like many places that I've been recently.
We didn't use any rideshare. But what we did is we rented a car, which we picked up right at the airport. The Santorini airport is tiny and it's really easy to get a car. The kiosk is right there when you exit. Super simple. You don't have to walk far. The lot is just kind of like right there because it's a teeny tiny airport. We got a great deal on a car rental. It was a little over $100 for the 4 nights.
Wow.
And yeah. Part of it is that we got this teeny tiny thing because it was just the two of us and 2 bags. And so we got this little itty bitty car, which is all we needed. And it was kind of fun to zip around in it. And the roads are really narrow. So we were actually very glad that we had a little car because the roads are basically 1 lane, but they just kind of make it function as 2. And so the rule is when you're going uphill, you have the right of way, which was nice to find out midway through our trip. So if you're going uphill, you just keep on going. And then the other cars that are coming down have to pull over for you. So anyway, we rented a car. It's pretty inexpensive to do that. So I would recommend getting a car unless you're staying in Ia or Fira and just kind of want to stay right there and explore things there. But if you're wanting to do hikes, wine touring, explore different corners of the island, you really do need a car. And so for us, it was totally worth it. We had looked into the cost of having, through the hotel, you could get someone to pick you up and bring you to the hotel and then back to the airport. And it was going to cost more for just those 2 rides than to just rent a car for the whole trip.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because again, we got it so cheap. And then I also combined it with Capital One shopping, so I got $50 off of it. I mean, so we paid like just over $50 for the car for the whole trip. So it was a no-brainer. But I do recommend having a car. You can use the bus system. They have a pretty robust bus system, but it gets overloaded. And so you can do a lot of waiting for the next bus if you are going during a busy time of year. And so I think that would really put a damper on the trip.
Yeah.
You know, it just waiting for buses. It was way more worth it to have the flexibility of a car.
It's time for a segment called How Did Relief Band Save Your Life This Week, Joanna? Because you don't just use a relief band when you travel anymore. You use relief band in everyday life because it has been life-changing for you.
Yeah, I'm a nauseous queen over here, okay, guys? I have such a sensitive stomach. It's almost embarrassing, but I have realized now that my relief band just needs to be fully charged and in my purse at any given moment, because not only will I save my own life, I will save the lives of others who are experiencing nausea. Let me tell you what happened this week. I was in a car with an 8-year-old, and she goes, I'm not feeling so good. I think I'm going to throw up.
This is what you never want to hear
words
in a
you
car.
never want to hear. We pulled over on the side, and then I remembered that my relief band was in my bag because we still had several hours of mandatory driving and drop-offs for her siblings. Like, there was no way around it. She was going to have to stay in the car where she was already motion sick. I popped out that relief band so fast and put it on her wrist. And you know what? She's 8 years old, and I think some people are concerned that their kids won't be able to handle like the feeling of the electrical pulses. She didn't mind it at all. So if she can do it, you guys can all do it. She was 100% fine within like minutes. She was feeling so much better. She never got motion sick again for the rest of the day. I could not believe the drastic transformation. And then the very next day, I had a migraine that was making me nauseous, and as soon as I got my relief band charged and on my own wrist, the rest of my day was astronomically different.
I love that there is a great option that doesn't include a medication. It is, natural. Just put it on your arm. You don't have to ingest anything into your system. Fantastic. If you want to try Relief Band, please use the link in our show notes. We have 25% off, which is a better discount than you can get most places. We really bonded with the Relief Band people, and they increased the offer that we could give you guys. So this should be a really fantastic offer. Great way to get yourself a relief band, and for those other people in your life who do struggle with nausea in various forms. So back to the episode, but we just wanted to tell you how Relief Band has saved Joanna's life recently.
That's right. I'm sure there will be more soon.
So what was the hotel name? And tell us a little bit about your room. Was it a small room? Was it, I kind of know the answer to this already, and I know that it's a lot more magical than a tiny little room.
Yes, and I don't know how I got to talking about car rentals when you asked about the hotel name before, but here we go. Let's talk about the hotel. So we stayed at Santorini Sky. It is a Mr. and Mrs. Smith property, so it's under the Hyatt umbrella, and it is a super small, super luxury hotel that we absolutely loved. It's just outside of Pyrgos, which is sort of midpoint through the island of Santorini. So at the most northern point is Ia and then Fira. And those are the most famous areas that you see on Instagram, like the blue dome buildings on the cliff edge. That's Ia. Fira is south of that and is where all the cruise ships go in. And then Pyrgos is kind of a decent amount further south of that. It's about a 30-minute drive to Ia from there. And the hotel is situated on top of a mountain. It's the highest point on the entire island of Santorini. And it's facing west, so you have incredible sunset views, which is why they call it Santorini Sky. It is beautiful. So beautiful. It is, there's, I think, about 8 rooms in total, maybe 8 to 10. It's very small. And each room has its own private balcony, big balcony, with an infinity pool and a hot tub overlooking the beautiful Santorini sunsets. It was wild. It was absolutely wild. It was so beautiful. And it felt very luxurious, simple, but luxurious. So nothing was opulent or looking fancy in that way. It was just all very clean lines and really sort of simple, but elevated. And then everything just sort of focused on that outdoor space and then looking out into the natural beauty of Santorini.
I love going through your highlight. By the way, everybody go to Courtney's Instagram and look at some of these visuals in her highlight bubble because, oh my goodness, just it's unbelievable. As soon as you told me about this place and I saw the footage and I listened to your podcast episode on it, I immediately started scrapping Costa Rica plans in my head for next May, like
Yes.
immediately. And I want to tell you guys really quick, I did look up some pricing. So in April, you can find dates at this property for 30,750 points per night. In May, you're looking around 40,000 points a night for the dates that I was looking at. It might vary. I just picked random weeks out of each month and looked at that. But this is super comparable to the prices of the Ondas Papagayo that I booked in Costa Rica. Like,
Yeah.
this is what you're going to be paying for some of the more opulent properties. And I mean, 30,000 points a night to me feels, I just paid 25,000 to stay at that dumb New York hotel to get my passport. Okay.
Right.
So, I mean, this is like next level. And it felt like it came with like a lot of globalist type stuff.
Yes. So, yeah, I found pricing similar to what you found. And we stayed specifically in the Panoramic Villa, which is one of the bigger suites. The ones that are about 30,000 points are a smaller suite that don't have a kitchen, which I don't know that you really need. And then I don't know if all of the 30,000-ish ones have a full infinity pool or if they do it smaller, but there's definitely some kind of water that you can sit in and overlook the sunsets, whether it's like a smaller hot tub or a smaller infinity pool. But ours, the Panoramic Villa, is around 48,000 points a night.
Okay.
Still totally worth it. I would 100% go here again and pay that rate because that's kind of in the range of a category 8 at moderate pricing now with the new award chart. So still very much worth it. But we had an enormous balcony with a big infinity pool, big hot tub. We had a full kitchen, small full kitchen, and then we had 2 bathrooms. There was a powder room in the front, which was really, not totally needed for 2 of us, but convenient if we were running in using the bathroom before going on a hike or something like that. And then we had a really big king bedroom, and then a separate bathroom with a big rain shower, and then an outdoor shower as well that was open up to the sky. So you could be out in the shower and then looking up and see the stars. Yeah, it was really nice. And yeah, you alluded to some of the globalist type benefits. So I don't have globalist status, but this place includes a lot of food and has this really amazing lounge that you have access to, which I did not know when I was booking. Again, I just sort of panic booked this as fast as possible. Had no idea. Actually, until we arrived, I had no idea that there was all this food included. So when we arrived, we had missed the lounge hours because we arrived late, but they gave us like a little baggie of all different treats and snacks, some different drinks, and they sort of had just left that in our room for us, which was very nice. But every day, breakfast included, big hot breakfast, one of those nice machines that makes lattes and cappuccinos and all of that. Hot food, eggs, pastries, yogurt, fresh fruit that was cut up, like a pretty big spread. And it was different every day, which was really nice. And it was 2 people that kind of were there the whole time. And they were the ones that helped, coordinate things like we got a massage in the room. They helped give us recommendations where to eat, things like that. And it's such a small operation because there's only a few rooms. So they were just kind of in this little kitchen, making an egg bake and then putting it out. And everything was just like home cooked basically versus like that sort of mass produced buffet stuff you normally get at a hotel because it was so small. And so, literally we'd walk down to breakfast. There'd be this huge spread. There's an indoor seating area, but then also outdoor seating that overlooks those same incredible views to the west where you're looking at the sunset, or well, not the sunset in the morning, but you're looking at the ocean and the beautiful views. And so you could eat breakfast outside and just enjoy those views. And it was super quiet, peaceful. There's only a few other groups that are there, and the breakfast was several hours long. So sometimes we would be the only people there. There'd be one other couple or sometimes two other couples there. There was a full fridge with all different bottled beverages that were included. There was a freezer full of ice cream that was included. There, yeah. And that was available like all day, like until 10 p.m. You could just grab stuff there anytime. And then there was also a big spread of snacks that was always available. So all different chocolate covered treats, nuts, pastries, trail mix, homemade granola bars, a really, really decent spread that really was our lunch every day. Those
Yeah.
snacky type
I mean,
things.
that makes the current points price truly not that bad. When you have
Yes.
that much food included as well, I mean, it really seems like a fantastic opportunity.
It was a lot of food. It was really nice. And then in the evening for a couple of hours, they would put out more hors d'oeuvres. So it would be like they'd have one or two extra things like a pasta salad or some tzatziki, some vegetables, and they would put out those things for a couple of hours in the evening. And then later on, you could go and grab a midnight snack type thing. I mean, it was
It's
really a lot of
low-key,
food.
all-inclusive.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't, it was close to that. We basically we paid for dinner every night, and that was the only meal that we paid for each day, essentially.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible. I want to go
Well,
so bad.
Yeah, it sounds like you wouldn't even want to leave the property because you could just
Right.
enjoy your pool and just be lounging. But you guys did do some hikes and activities around Santorini. So what were some of the favorite things that you did in the area?
Yeah, so my favorite part of the whole trip was our walk from Fira to Ia. It's about an 8-mile walk, and it goes along the western coast of Santorini, and it's basically just hugging the caldera. So the entire hike, you are on these adorable little paths going through quaint little Greek villages, and to your left is the Aegean Sea, and it's kind of, you're about 1,000 feet elevation, and then it just is a cliff down. So you're sort of looking at this big cliff overview, sort of like Cliffs of Moher vibes from the top, but just along the entire 8-mile hike. That's your view, just different versions of that view as you go along. It was the best day. We did this on our last day, and it was so incredible. We just walked slow. We stopped in different little coffee shops and things like that on the way. We took lots of pictures. We met people as we were exploring through. And we did like the longest version of this. We started at the far end of Fira. Then we walked all the way through Fira, which is not a small walk, and lots of stairs. And then we walked through all the other towns and then through Ia to the very far end, to the total tip point of the island. And then we walked an additional 4 to 5 miles once we got there, just exploring Ia, because that was the only time that we spent in Ia was that day. We spent a lot of time doing more off the beaten path things like hikes, and didn't stick to Fira and Ia, which I think is what most people do when they go to Santorini. But that hike was my favorite thing of the whole trip. Other things we did, we went on a wine tour our first day, which I really recommend. We arranged that through the hotel, and we went to 3 wineries, Hatzidakis, Art Space, and Argyros. Hatzidakis was absolutely our favorite. It's a small family-owned operation. The owner actually was the person that greeted us, showed us around. She did our tasting, told us about each wine, how they created it. It's a really small family business. It just was really incredible to talk to the owner and have her share her wine and how much she loves it, and just all the passion that went into making the wine. And the wine of Santorini is really unique. It has this really cool mineral quality because it's essentially growing in volcanic rock. There's almost no soil there. And the grape plants are about a foot tall. That's it. Like, they can't irrigate there. There's this whole traditional way that they make the wines. They don't use any irrigation. They don't use any pesticides. All the wines are completely organic, and they have to they do everything by hand. They pick each grape by hand. It's wild how they make it. So much care goes into that whole process. So learning about that process was really cool. And so, yeah, we went to the 3 wineries. They were all incredible. And that was a great way to start the trip off because we had someone that drove us. So this was the priciest thing that we did on the trip, the kind of only splurge that we did. It was $488 for the tour, including being driven around, going to the 3 wineries, tasting at the 3 wineries, and then a decent amount of food at each winery with each tasting. So that wound up being lunch as well. And it was quite a few hours and really an awesome experience. That was great. We also checked out Akrotiri, which is a prehistoric settlement that's on Santorini. Yeah, dates back to the 4th millennium BC. Like literally prehistoric. And then it evolved, of course, over time and became a more developed civilization. And then in the 17th century BC, it was abandoned because of an earthquake. And then there was a volcanic rupture. And the whole thing became, the whole thing became encased in lava, sort of like Pompeii. And except for there were no people there when it happened because it had already been abandoned. So you can tour this whole thing and see this ancient civilization encased in lava rock. It was amazing.
That's so cool. I would love that.
Yeah, it was great. So we did that. So we checked out ancient Thera as well. And that was another ancient civilization built with rocks that's on top of a mountain. So we hiked to the top of the mountain. You can also access it by car if you're not wanting to hike to the top of a mountain. But we checked that out as well. And that was really beautiful. And we also did the Heart of Santorini hike, it's a classic image that you'll see online. It's like you go through this tunnel sort of lava rock, and then it opens up this hole that used to be more of a heart shape, and now it's more round. But then you see the Aegean Sea through that tunnel hole. Yeah. So check that out in my stories. It's a really cool view. That was mainly it. Oh, and we got massages. We got massages at our hotel room, which was
fancy,
so luxurious. And it was inexpensive. It was just over 200 euros for the 2 of us for an hour to have them come to our room. I mean, I've paid more than that.
That is a good price.
At a spa,
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah.
They came right to us. So it was so nice.
That's amazing. Was there anywhere nearby, like if you had wanted to utilize your kitchen, that you could have gotten some little charcuterie type stuff, groceries?
Yeah, definitely. We're on the mountaintop, and it's just outside of Pyrgos. So you could walk to Pyrgos, but it would be, you have to go back up the mountain to get to the hotel. Or it's a quick, 8-minute drive to get there, which is what we did. And yes, there's some grocery stores. There's a convenience store. One of the things that we did is we went to a convenience store and bought just like a bunch of snack food and treats. We love trying sort of the grocery and snack stuff in a different country. And then we got a bunch of beer because you could buy beer by the can. So we tried a whole bunch of different beers and sort of sampled all of them. That's fun. Then we ordered food in. We wound up only going out to dinner one time this entire trip because 2 reasons. One, the room was so amazing that we really didn't want to leave it in the evening. We didn't want to go out to a restaurant and sit. We wanted to be on our balcony. It was the best views on the whole island, quite honestly, off that mountaintop. And so we wanted to be there after doing things and exploring all day. And then also the food in Pyrgos, where we were situated, was much less expensive, much more authentic. Pyrgos is where Greek people live. That's where people of Santorini live. It's not a tourist destination in the same way that Ia and Fia are. And so it felt different. The food felt more authentic and was less expensive. So we really wanted to just kind of order in and eat on our incredible balcony, which is what we did for most of the trip.
This would 100% be me and my husband. So were you able to order it to you like Uber Eats, DoorDash kind of vibes, or did you have to go pick it up?
We were able to order it in. We did that in 2 different ways. So there's one restaurant, which is Mythos in Pyrgos, and that is connected with the hotel. So you can just text the concierge at the hotel and they will put in the order for you. They'll add it
Nice.
to your bill and then they bring it right to your door, which is
Oh,
so nice. So
yeah.
we did that one night. The food was very good there, some of the best food we had on the whole trip. And then we also used the Wolt app, WOLT, which is sort of their version of Uber Eats. And we used that another night to order in at a restaurant called Mario Restaurant, which is just outside of Pyrgos, and had some amazing food there as well.
Amazing.
This is a question that I did not prep you for, but it just came to mind when you mentioned that and then putting it on your bill. Did you have a Hyatt credit card on file with the hotel? I'm just curious how it coded. You know, when you go to a Hyatt property and you stay, you get additional points if you have a Hyatt card and things are, charged through your Hyatt account. But some places, the restaurants and things on property don't code in the same way. So I don't know if you have any memory of how things coded from this stay.
That's a really good question. I did use a Hyatt card because I always use a Hyatt card when I'm booking a Hyatt to get those points. But I honestly can't say that I checked back to see if it coded as Hyatt. I'm not sure. We spent so little money there that it really truly didn't matter. I think the only things I spent was we bought a bottle of wine from the lounge one night. You could buy a bottle and then put it on your bill. And then we ordered the food one night through them, and that was it. We had paid cash for
Okay.
the massage directly to the masseuse, and then the wine tour we paid cash directly to the driver. And so it didn't really matter. You wouldn't
Yeah.
spend much money there.
Wow.
It's something I forget to go back and check too. And then I'll be
Yeah.
in the Facebook groups and, it's a good point of how does this code? Because are you getting the massive
Mhm.
multiplier for using your Hyatt card or are you not? But yeah, it's not something that I think to check that often either, but it's a cool opportunity if it does code right and you can get a
Yeah.
big multiplier.
Always. Yeah. Yeah.
And you've mentioned cash a couple times, so I think this is an important time to ask, do you feel like you need to get some euros out? How did you do that? Did you just find an ATM? Did you exchange before you left? I literally just wrote an article for Yahoo about how I now travel with a
Yeah.
specific debit card connected to a checking account that I just put cash in so I can take out cash at a foreign ATM because we have been stranded cashless before.
Yes.
It was not a good situation.
Want to avoid that. We did take out cash in euros. We tried to be good and plan ahead and get it through AAA ahead of time because that's a good way to get a good exchange rate. But ultimately, I was too late to the party and they said, oh, the cash won't be here for a week. And we were leaving in less than that. So that's what I did for our next international trip is
That's a
got
good
euros
tip.
at AAA. Yeah. Yeah. They have a really good exchange rate there, but they have to order it. So
Mhm.
you have to go say, I want this much. They order it and then you pick it up about a week later. So we did not do that for this trip, but what we did is we just at the airport did an exchange. So we stopped in one of those booths at Newark when we were waiting because we positioned to Newark. We were there for a while before the flight. And then we used that time to just do an exchange there. I've also, when traveling internationally, just used an ATM with a debit card as well. That works fine too. But AAA is the way to get the best exchange rate. And you do need cash there, at least if you're doing it the way we did, where we really went to the smaller communities. We were
Yeah.
not just in Ia and Fira. We were all over the place. And so, yeah, there were definitely places where you wanted to have cash. And for things like tipping, someone brought our bags right to our room when we arrived. The tipping culture is different there. I don't think we probably had to tip, but we like to. And we also need it for those things, the massage and the wine tour.
Very, very important to note.
Okay, before we leave Santorini and this trip to a couple more general questions we have for you, is there any other advice that you would have for someone looking to plan a trip? Anything about times of year that might be good? You mentioned a very helpful app. What are some things that people might need to know?
I would really focus on shoulder season. I love traveling in shoulder season. This happened a little bit accidentally with this trip because I was just shooting for my birthday, which happens to be end of April, which is shoulder season for Greece. But it was perfect. The island really felt empty at a lot of times, which is wild. And it was so nice because Santorini really is one of those places that has been ruined in some ways by overcrowding. You see videos and pictures of people in Ia trying to get these sunset views, and it is just a zoo. People are shoulder to shoulder fighting with each other to see things, and the streets of Iyo were virtually empty while we were there. You really want to look at when the cruise ship season is and avoid that like the plague. And then you also want to avoid Fira, which is where the cruise ships land, when there's a lot of cruise ships there. And you can actually Google this. There's ways to look. I can't remember the name of the website. I'll give it to you so you can put it in the show notes. But my husband would look and see like which days, how many cruise ships were coming. And we only had one cruise ship on one day and no cruise ships the rest of the time, which is great because sometimes they'll have 6 or 7 and it will like exponentially increase the amount of people on the island when those cruise ships arrive. And it really changes the experience. So cannot say enough good things about traveling during shoulder season. That's so important. And then Wolt, WOLT, that is an app that you can use in Greece specifically to order food. That was really a nice, convenient way to get food. And I also would just really encourage people to step away from the main things you always hear about the places the cruise ships go. Fira, where the port is, was my absolute least favorite part of the entire island. And that's not to say I didn't like it. Fira was lovely. It was nice. It had a lot of charm. But everything else was so much better. And so just really getting to those lesser known places, getting out in nature, exploring some smaller towns, it really was a more authentic experience. And we just enjoyed it so much more.
I love that. What was the temperature like at the end of April?
Perfect. It was 60s to 70s.
Okay.
Sunny.
So not really swimming weather.
Not really swimming weather. So yes, our infinity pool was only used once for a photo op. I was like, okay, I'm going in, take my picture. Yeah, it was too chilly to swim, but we had the hot tub as well with the same view. So this was we used the hot tub a ton and the pool, not so much. It was not really swimming weather. But for the rest of the time, it was perfect. And so I think shoulder season is better because we could still be in the hot tub and out on the deck very comfortably. We could be hiking very comfortably. We were not super sweaty and humid. It was perfect weather for just walking around and exploring, which is what we did the majority of the trip.
Sounds so good.
It was incredible. The people there often said things like, yeah, we're poor here. We don't have a lot of resources, but look around, look where we are. And they're all so happy.
So much
joy.
They
are such happy people and they just love sharing their beautiful island. And they always talk about how it's sunny 300 days a year. And they just really, there's almost no rain. It's always sunny. It's usually nice and warm. And they're just all so happy to be there. It's wonderful.
They all have plenty of vitamin D and it shows in their mental health.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I loved your tip about AAA. I think that's a phenomenal advice for anybody because no matter where you're going in the world, exchanging money through AAA is a great idea. What other big pieces of advice would you have for someone, maybe someone just learning about points and miles, just getting into the points and miles world? What's some advice that you heard at some point along the way that was an aha moment or something you think would really help out?
The biggest things for me, one, I mean, you hear this all the time, but there's a reason, just getting into some transferable points that can go multiple places, building up a little bit of a stockpile because you want to have that flexibility. I was able to take advantage of this deal because I had some Chase and Hyatt points lying around and I could jump on this immediately when it came up. And I also had a bunch of Amex points that I could use to book these business class flights. So you don't always have to have an exact trip in mind. It's good to build up a points stockpile, so to speak, in a couple of different transferable currencies, and then have maybe a list of 10-ish places that you want to go in your head or write it down. And that's what I had for Santorini. I knew that was somewhere I wanted to go ultimately. And then the right deal came up and boom, I grabbed it, right? Because I had thought about it ahead of time and I had built up some of a point stash. So you don't always have to plan exactly with a trip in mind when you open a card. Just get some points and then get started.
I think that's true. We always tell people when they're like, what card do I get? What card do I get? And I'm like, well, what are your goals? But if it's a transferable point currency card with a lot of flexible, hotel and airline partners, you really can't go wrong with any of the major banks'
Yeah,
cards as long as they give you options.
Mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely. The other tip I have would be thinking about with traditional school schedules. We're a regular family. We've got 2 kids in school. We both work full time. We are working on all these scheduling things that get in the way and make it harder to travel. Just being open to leaving maybe 2 days before a break, right? Or coming back a day later. Doing that, just that little bit of flexibility can really allow you to get some awesome deals on flights
Yep.
and isn't as disruptive to the kiddos' schedules. That's really, I think, the sweet spot for us. We've done trips where we just said, oh, the heck with it, and pulled them out of school for a week and a half. And that, I don't have a problem with that, but my kids were stressed by it. And so
Yes.
that just doesn't work for our
True.
family right now. And so now, when I plan spring break, for example, we're leaving on the Wednesday. Their break starts on the Friday, and then they're off the whole next week. So we're traveling Wednesday to Wednesday. They'll miss 2 days of school, and I got some awesome flight deals.
Amazing. We're doing the same
Yes,
thing for spring break. I think we're leaving a day or two early, and then we actually get back before it ends. So
which
it'll
is
be fine.
also nice.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll have a couple days to try to unjet lag ourselves from Asia jet lag. I can't even
Ooh.
handle Europe jet lag. Like, it's not going well for me. I'm like, what am I even gonna do coming back from Japan? I don't know. All right. Well, actually, this brings us to our next and final question, which is, where are points taking you next?
Oh, well, first I'll tell you where they took me after this Santorini trip because we just had the best trip. We went to Germany and we went to Munich, Fussen, and Rudesheim with a quick stop in Paris as well. And that was a family trip with my
Amazing.
kiddos. So amazing. And next, I have a whole bunch of Hyatt stays coming up because I really tried to book everything I could think of before the award chart changed.
Yes.
So we are going to, oh my gosh, what is the name of
Baha
that
Mar, you
place?
mentioned. Grand
We're
Hyatt
going to
Baha
Baha
Mar.
Mar. That's in March. So that's not until spring break next year. But we are also going to Hyatt Regency Coconut Point, which is
Love
inspired by you
Nice.
guys. Yes.
Yay!
I've had that on my list for a long time since you did your episode about that quite a
a
while ago.
million years ago, our
Yes.
first time meeting in person.
Yes. So I am doing a girls' trip there to celebrate my daughter's 10th birthday, and my sister is meeting us
Wonderful.
there from Denver. That's
Perfect.
going to be awesome. And then we're going to Chicago, Manhattan. I'm doing a solo stay at Miraval Berkshires. I have so many exciting things coming up with Hyatt.
Oh, I do remember talking to you about the Miraval Berkshires. I want to hear about that one. You might need to go get an Air Canada card and try to use all these upcoming stays for that globalist status.
I have
Quick
thought
fast
about
track.
Like,
it.
do you have 20 days booked in 90 days?
I don't think I do. I'll have to do the math, but it's possible. But I am going to organically have 40 nights this year at Hyatt.
Nice.
So,
You're so
yeah,
close.
because
Business card spend.
I don't have the business card. I have the personal Hyatt card only. I think that I'm going to go for Globalist because
You're
I
so
have
close.
a lot of nights. I'm pretty close. So I think I might get the business card or just spend on the personal card. I also have a category 1 Hyatt Regency in my city. And so some mattress
Perfect.
runs or staycation might also be in order.
This is exciting.
Girl, I'll hook you up with that business card link.
Ooh, okay. I might have to do that. I think that would be the easiest way with
For sure.
the least amount of spend. Yeah.
It surely will be. All right. Tell everybody where they can find you again. I know we said it at the top, but as a reminder to people, and of course, I will also put it in the show notes for everybody.
Yes, I would love you to come follow me. I'm at Points Everywhere on Instagram. My podcast is also called Points Everywhere, and I have a website, pointseverywhere.com, that has some more information, my card referral links, all of that stuff.
Beautiful. It will all be linked below. You guys, you know where to find it. Courtney, thank you so much for sharing this incredible, incredible trip. I want to go so bad. Like, I'm aching to do this exact
You
trip.
should. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta convince my husband that this is better than the jungle. He really loves the jungle.
Well, maybe a girls' trip is in order then, like Mary Ellen said.
I think so.
Sounds good to me.
Let's do it.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been so fun.
Oh, such a delight. All right, everybody, we will see you here next time.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode. We hope you learned something new and feel inspired to plan your next trip.
Remember, we're travelers sharing our experiences, not financial advisors, so always do your own research and make informed decisions.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a Points and Miles tip.
We'll see you next time on Wonderland on Points.